I have come across a small conundrum, dear listeners. I wish to tell you 3 stories about the land of Foyer, yet I can no longer ignore the elephant quietly standing in the corner, invisible to you, but annoyingly obtuse to me. Foyer was not explored until long after the Third War of Dragons and Giants, nearing the Fourth, a war most believed was fought more out of obligation than desire, and yet the first of these stories takes place so far in the past that even I cannot see into its beginning. The second sits quietly, unmemorable to all but a few, despite its vast importance and the tides it changed. The third unfolds in futures so distant they have not yet decided what they wish to remember. Ordinarily, this would be a problem. For me, it is merely inconvenient. And, should I allow it to linger too long, you may find yourself tripping over the roots of my story. I have never been one to respect time's rules, and had time the courage to enforce them upon me, it would have found itself unable to do so. Still, this may explain something strange that will occur for those of you who insist on reading my stories in order. I shall speak plainly for but a moment. This is not necessary. I have no intention of granting time the seriousness you believe it deserves. That said, some minds struggle without sequence, so I shall begrudgingly attempt to guide them. If you find yourself lost, floundering in repetition, remember this. These are stories. Take from them what you will. Many, many years ago, in a time that even I could not see into, there lived 3 siblings. They could not touch one another. They could not speak, though they could communicate barely. They could scarcely exist in the same sense of the word. The eldest did not exist at all. It was nothing. I can only describe it by what it was not. It was neither real nor imaginary. It was not absence, nor void, nor death. It simply wasn't. And because of that, it suffered. Loneliness is cruel in that way. With no blade, it pierces. The pain lingers. Physical agony can distract one from isolation, but when one is truly alone, even pain grows dull. All that remained to it was silence, still suffocating. Eventually, the eldest grew tired of silence. And so, it thought to itself. There was little to think. After all, there was nothing. But in thinking, its mind fractured. Out of curiosity, rather than fear, it allowed the fracture to widen. This took 1 and none days. When it ended, the second sibling existed. The second was bright, brilliant even. It lived entirely within thought, a strange amalgamation of imaginary and unreal, for reality had not yet been born to replace it. It wished to communicate with its elder, as it once had, but with a body formed of imagination, it could no longer interact with nothing. So, it did the only thing it could. It thought. It thought until thought itself became effort. And with that effort, it forced itself into its sibling. Imaginary pressed into nothing until something impossible occurred. Reality was born. The third sibling, the youngest. In creating his younger brother, the second paid a cost. It could now exist only in the mind. It had become imaginary in truth. This made it closest to nothing and the furthest from comfort. For when the imaginary and the nothing converse, chaos is the only language they share. The third sibling was real, and therefore alone. His elder appeared to him only in dreams, whispering truths of the world and the stories of their sibling. Real and imaginary could meet only in dream. Nothing was never meant to meet them at all. There was one exception. Once, only once, nothing met its youngest brother. I do not know how, whether through will or accident, I cannot say, but it appeared briefly, told him he was loved, and vanished again, believing it would never be seen. This was not better than loneliness, it was merely different. To abate that loneliness, the youngest created freely. Using the imaginary as canvas, the real wrote the world into existence, beginning with a small island, Arcanius. The world grew outward from there, Arcanium, and somewhere on that island, buried beneath names that would change again and again, lies the origin of everything you know. The island became home to all, Arcanius, island born from anarchy. Foyer, if you prefer its modern title, the ultimate crossroads. The second story takes place on Foyer long after this beginning, when the continent was ruled by guilds, 3 leaders with ambition for mastery, not conquest. They strode into Arcanius and fought for dominance over the island. They succeeded. Their foothold became known as Ritzes. I met a small group of students traveling to study abroad. We spoke briefly. I told them stories only I know. In fact, I told them the stories I have told you here, save for their own. I did not wish to spoil their lives with needless foresight. Before I left, I told them to seek the origin point if they wished for a true adventure. I wonder if they ever did. I will tell you this, the Prince of Goliaths who held Yorm's will, the cat born from the mother who killed her lover, and the Eldritch Witch have more than one story to tell. More stories I do not wish to confine to my own. It is why I love you mortals so. You have the most amazing tendency to surprise me. What I do know is that around this time dragons and giants began their 4th war, not out of hatred, but obligation. The other races had begun to leave the world entirely. Elves, dwarves, orcs, gnomes, all seeking something beyond. The world felt lonely, and loneliness has consequences. Humanity, now alone, had no choice but to let its sub-races die out. It became clear, inevitably, humans would inherit the world. The third story takes place after Foyer was tamed, long after its guild masters ascended into legend. A city climbed towards the sky, blotting out the sun as mortality clawed at heaven. 3 friends sat in a bar, a mercenary, a surfer, and a headsman. They noticed a mosquito. It wore a top hat. It had been drinking deeply from their conversation. They spoke to it, so I rewarded them. I gave them eyes that once belonged to a man who traded his sanity. They traded them poorly. They received a dream, a dream stolen from me. That night the three became one, and the one became me. Later, when I slept again, a dear friend took my dream and left behind the eyes of his follower. Time folded. You see now why I told you to read in order was ultimately superfluous. When walking as those three friends, I watched humanity sail into the stars, hopeful but naive. They found corpses. They found silence. They found fear older than language. Among the stars dwell the primordials, not the ones who create and guide, but those born from chaos, who know only chaos. Humanity had the strength to fight back. Their gods begged for that strength to be taken, and in their folly they begged again. That time, I did not listen. Three rebelled, running headlong into chaos and allowing it to reshape them. They believed they could conquer it. But without imagination, they faltered when asked to think beyond force. This led to the Sixth War, a war that was entirely human. When the rubble of the Sixth faded, the three that fought disappeared into shadow. Do not mistake that for meaning they died. They merely wait, much more ravenous than before. The last war of the age of fantasy. 3 stories for each continent, 9 in total. And yet this book still feels incomplete. Which is the real problem, isn't it? There are several places that this story could end. This is one of them. The others come much later. Which will matter most is for me to decide, and for you to discover. You may ask about the wars. Most do. So I will save us both the trouble of pretending they are not important. There were 6. Each one matters. Each one costs something. Each one invokes divinity. The first war was creation. All was written into existence using the script of imagination. The second was chaos, and the birth of mortals. It was loud, it was reckless, it was hopeful. Yet, it was naive. The third was culling. It lasted 3 months. Heaven and hell screamed. Gods were erased. Dragons and giants fought not to win, but to drown out the sound, so mortals would not learn what it meant to hear divinity beg. 6 survived. I let them. The fourth war was ritual. The second time, dragons and giants fought for a reason other than desire. By then, the other races had already begun to leave. The world was becoming quiet. The fifth war was hatred. Only humans remained after. Their power frightened the gods, so they sought to chain it. Humanity rose up to look the gods in the eyes. Hope faced the true universe. The gods begged me after that. They asked me to break it. I did. The sixth war was human, and it nearly ended everything. Humanity tore itself apart with the remnants of its strength. Hope was executed. The gods and the humans saw the true face of the universe. Humanity, in spite of their chains, tried to fight. The gods begged me after that. They pleaded with me to fix it. I did not. You will hear the rest of these stories later. Each war, each god, each mistake. For now, you only need to remember this. Nothing that follows is accidental. So tell me, dear listener, shall we speak next of love, of betrayal, or of devotion? No. Regardless of their desires, next we speak of gods. Their ambitions, their sorrows, their freedoms. After all, adventure rarely waits for permission or acceptance, and since they never asked humanity's opinion, we need not ask theirs before we listen in. Good night, sweet dreams, and until next time.